All right, DanaGarrett, thank you for your video called A Question for Cimbolic. Um, the nature of my objection to Thunderfoot's Islam Fail video was that he sidestepped the more critical issues. Many people had asked him to clarify his first video, South Park versus Islam, his stand on prejudice, his stand on genocide, his stand on global destruction, etc. Also to clarify, he had basically edited Dawa Films, part of Dawa Film statement, took out a very important part of his statement, and then basically asserted that Dawa Films was making a death threat against him, a very serious charge. And people were waiting for him to clarify that. He clarified none of it. So I thought that when his video came out, this most recent video, I thought he had sidestepped all of that. That's why I began my video by saying so instead of addressing the core essential issues. Instead, we're presented with an absurd experiment. It was actually a challenge dressed up to look like an experiment. Yes, I thought it was preposterous too. That's why I called it absurd. I didn't think it was really worthy of critique. You'd mentioned some of the flaws. I also thought it showed a very shallow conception of prayer. I mean, people don't necessarily pray for power. Some people pray simply to attempt to communicate with what they consider to be a deity. They pray for insight, they pray for guidance, to be shown the straight path, what have you. So it's the conception of prayer upon which it was based too was very shallow. He also moved on then to basically talk about free speech and say that Islamic cultures do not, are afraid of free speech. This is also disingenuous because the type of free speech that is at the core of this controversy is a very narrow kind of free speech. We're not talking about free speech in general. I mean, I think almost everybody agrees free speech is good. We're talking about satire, and within satire, we're talking about cartooning, physical depiction, and we've got, I did a subsequent video about satire. We've got the nexus of four complex areas. We've got religion and the religious impulse, which is complex, freedom of speech and any proper limitations on the freedom of speech, very complex, constitutional law. We've got, we have intercultural values and intercultural communication, and we have humor. Humor being maybe the most complex of them all. And these coming together into a nexus, and the complexity of that is not being addressed. Instead, we're getting simplistic thinking, which is not really thinking at all. It's reactionism. And we're getting propaganda and jingoism. And there's no due regard for the complexity of the true issues involved. So that is also, I find, quite annoying. So my response, in a sense, was satirical. There's a little poetic justice. Satirical and facetious, I guess you'd say. So the point of that was just simply to point out that he's avoided all the core issues, both the moral issues and intellectual issues. On my video called Unsubscribe from Thunderfoot, Rosebush did a response video to me, or video to me, basically saying, as you did, Nick, this is over the top, and people subscribe for a number of reasons, and being subscribed to someone does not inherently mean that you subscribe to their beliefs. And Rosebush felt that I was being unfair and that I was using emotional blackmail. I did a response video to him agreeing with him. My intention was not to create a state of emotional blackmail, but clearly I was flawed. It's just not correct to say that being subscribed to someone means you are also subscribing to their particular beliefs. People subscribe for a number of reasons. So I apologize, Rosebush. I apologize here now to everyone for that. I retracted that part of the message. and that remains retracted. That was an error on my part. What else? I do believe that you had a very articulate thing to say that a part of the nature of every critical argument that it is that it invites response. Yes, I do. I do believe that. We get into provocation. I've responded to a couple very provocative videos from Muslims, for instance, and what resulted were some very, very interesting conversations, and in fact, one friendship emerged from it. But they were intellectually provocative, I would say, for lack of a better way to describe it. Um, there is a kind of provocation which goes beyond that. Well, insult is also provocation. It's emotional provocation, and I think what I object to in what part of Thunderfoot's tone is an emotional provocation rather than an intellectual provocation. Now, I'm not saying that this last video of his called Islam Fail was out and out insulting. I do believe it was just disingenuous, and however, it was nothing compared to South Park versus Islam video, which I found highly offensive. Um, and well, we're going to say everybody's talked quite a bit about it, but so yes, I believe that part of a critical argument should invite response. I believe that provocative arguments are great, but I think it should be intellectually provocative, and that we can go beyond that to something that is emotionally provocative and that can sometimes border on insult as well. And I think that is to be avoided because we're no longer then in the realm of ideas. Did I cover everything? Yes, okay, that's the story. Yes, so yes, I am unsubscribed from Thunderfoot. One of the main reasons I thought people should unsubscribe was I thought that the large number of subscribers was contributing perhaps to the arrogance, and I thought that should be brought down. That was one of the main reasons I was encouraging people to unsubscribe, bring that number down. I unsubscribed, so I brought the number down a little bit by one. I do, however, still monitor his videos and respond. I just did a response called The True Purpose of Satire, because I want people to really deal with the issues. I mean, right now, people are just, it's on a very simplistic level, black and white, Manichaean, absolutism, absolute free speech here, and absolute this, absolute that, and nobody's really, I think, doing any real critical thinking or any in-depth thinking. So I want to kind of see people get onto that track to really analyze the issues, which I think I pointed out are a complex nexus of at least four areas, and that nexus has got to be even more complex in any one of its individual components. So that's the story. Thanks for your video. I appreciate it very much, and it's good talking to you. Take care. Bye-bye.